So first, we're going to talk about the natural order of things. Okay, this is like as simple as we can possibly make it in terms of the big picture. So there's a hierarchy of the way things go here, not just on America, but actually all over the world. So, God created mankind. And for those of you that have a concern about the word God, you can substitute with creator. For me, it's God. And so God created mankind, and he created mankind as living on the land, land dwellers, right? We don't live in the ocean. We don't live in the air. We live, this is where we reside. We are domiciled on the land. Mankind, though, did some really interesting things over the millennia because mankind, not being as superior as God, right, loves to do the divide and conquer thing. And so mankind created religions. And then religions created governments. And then governments created corporations. And then corporations created citizens. So here's just a graphic about the divide and conquer. So, earlier I mentioned that it felt like there was a particular party that was stripping away my rights here on California. The political parties serve one master. Okay, the political parties are designed to create something called bills. Now, when we were little here on America, right, we had this great Saturday cartoon called Schoolhouse Rock, and there was this cute little scroll that was a cartoon scroll, and the song was called I'm Just a Bill. So I always thought like a bill was, just another name for, a thing that turns into a law. Now, that is what it is, but it's also literal. When you get a phone bill or a mortgage bill or some kind of bill, those are all things you need to pay, right? So that's what bills are. And it doesn't matter actually what party you belong to, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or a Libertarian. That's just all part of the divide and conquer, because governments, politicians get rewarded for creating bills. And bills get handed down to the citizens. We'll keep going. Okay, let's see here. And of course, governments created corporations. This is a boardroom where they are further figuring out what they're going to do to citizens. So what is a citizen? And first of all, I want you to notice the lowercase c. This is important. So U.S. citizens and U.S. persons, both natural and artificial, and individuals are deemed subject to legislative acts of Congress as defined: individual, a person, or a statutory U.S. lowercase citizen as described in 8 U.S.C. 1401. You can see 26 CFR 1.1441-1C3. You can see 26 U.S. Code 7701C, and also lowercase citizen as described in 8 U.S.C. 1401. So feel free to take a screenshot of that, because that may prove to be very important later. This is the difference between a lowercase c citizen and an uppercase c citizen. So a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen with a lowercase c is, according to 1873 U.S. versus Anthony, 24 Federal Code 829 in 1873, the term resident and lowercase citizen of the United States meaning territories and District of Columbia, is distinguished from an uppercase C citizen of one of the several states, in that the former, the first one, the lowercase c, is a special class of citizen created by Congress. That is, a lowercase citizen of the United States is a statutory citizen or a creature of state. created by legislative action. Further, in 1875, this definition of United States as a corporation has its citizens, lowercase c. You can check out the case United States versus Cruikshank, 92 U.S. 542, who are generally referred to as United States lowercase citizens. And then in 1953, Kitchens versus Steele, 112 F supplement 383, a lowercase citizen of the United States is a lowercase citizen of the federal government. In 1967, also congressional record, June 13th, 1967, public policy 15641 through 15646, a lowercase citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity operating as a co-trustee and co-beneficiary of the PCT, Private Constructive Cestui Trust of United States, Inc., U.S. Inc., under the 14th Amendment, which upholds the debt of the United States. Okay? The debt of the USA and U.S. Inc. in Section 4. And this is added in. This neatly explains once and for all what a citizen, lowercase c, of the United States is in federal parlance as opposed to popular speech, and underlines the need for Americans to forthrightly expatriate from any such citizenship and instead declare their allegiance to the land of their nativity, for example, California, Nevada, or Ohio. And by the way, the same is true throughout the world. So Italy, Canada, Mexico, France. Therefore, the U.S. lowercase citizens residing in one of the states of the Union are classified as property and franchises of the federal government as an individual entity. And you can look that up on Wheeling Steel Corp versus Fox, 298 U.S. 193, 80 L edition 1143. 56S Courts CT 773. And you can check out 20 CFR 422.104. Okay. This is super important. This is really one of the main things that I want you to get right here is this, okay? Upholds the U.S., the debt of the USA and the U.S. Inc. So this is why politicians pass bills. Politicians pass bills because they get handsomely rewarded when they pass along bills, debt to us, okay? I hope that's really hitting home right now because there's only one reason why we're citizens, and it's to collect money out of our pockets. So when you get in debt, you become a slave. Remember the 14th Amendment that we briefly touched on earlier? So the 14th Amendment made everybody a slave. I remember, you know, when President Lincoln freed the slaves. You guys remember that from school? Well, no, actually what happened was he made everybody a slave. So then how did they do that? This lovely little thing called the birth certificate. So, you know, this is what happens when a child is born, at least here on America, which I think is the same everywhere around the world. You know, the child is born and almost immediately, right after they take a blood sample, DNA sample, from the heel of the infant, which by the way is a biblical event. You should check out Genesis to see the reference about bruising of the heel. And then they also immediately start vaccinating. They do a vitamin K shot, they do a hepatitis B shot. They can't wait to get your children right into this medical mafia system. So, but how they make your children and how they made us citizens is they, you know, the nurse comes along with a clipboard and puts right in front of your parents, right? Or the parents puts a birth certificate application right in front of the weary parents, and they sign their child's life away. And what I mean by that is, on paper, that child now becomes a ward of the state. That's why there are contractors like Child Protective Services that can come along and take your children from you if they, for whatever reason, decide that you're an unfit parent. You're not vaccinating? Oh, Okay, well, you're not, I mean, fill in the blanks. I think they say like that's neglect or whatever. Although every parent I know that got to the point of not vaccinating, um, got to that point because of serious harm already done to at least one of their children or themselves. And so then they go down the rabbit hole of discovering how much harm vaccines can actually do. And then they decide, whoa, 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 I'm either not going to do this at all, or I'm going to do it way spaced out or whatever. But they make very conscious choices. So that's how it happens. Everyone becomes a citizen this way, pretty much, unless they come here as adults or children of immigrants who want to become naturalized, and then they go through the process of becoming naturalized. And then they become citizens voluntarily until they take our class and find out, oh my gosh, that was a huge mistake. So we're going to just mention really quick de jure versus de facto. So de jure, I want to make this part of our vernacular, okay, because there's some confusion about the difference between de jure and de facto. So de jure, because de facto sounds like, oh, it's of fact or something like that. No, it is, but it isn't. De facto is like what you see with your eyes, right? It's happening around you, so it must be true. But it might not be lawful, because de jure is lawful. I like to say de jure for sure, like that's the one we want, because it's being within the law. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're restoring our de jure lawful government, and we've created the path forward so that people can choose whether they want to be lawful Americans or if they want to remain as legal fictions. John Kennedy, before he was assassinated, warned Americans about this grand conspiracy, okay? And I think this might even be where the term conspiracy theory was born. I'm guessing that, because he was warning everybody that there was this huge conspiracy going on, and that it was up to the media to expose these secret societies that have perpetrated lies and have been harming men and women on the land. And then we know what ended up happening to him, right? God bless him. He really tried to warn us. Now, there's lots and lots of talk about, oh, he was one of them and all of this kind of thing. I honestly don't know. I've never done the deep dive, but what I do know is he did try to warn us, and then suddenly he was dead. So I don't know whose side he was on or any of that. I'm not even going to get involved, but my point is that he tried to warn us. And this is like over 50 years ago that he tried to warn us. And you can see how far our country has gone in terms of like communistic and socialistic control over our lives. We're seeing it every day with people being forced or shamed or coerced into wearing a mask or take a vaccine that they don't want. And it's all a bunch of fear. Okay. So when our country was first formed, it was formed with this idea of a republic. Now, not to be confused with like the People's Republic of China, okay? In our lawful terminology, a republic defends the rights of even the smallest minority of one, okay? So gone would be the concerns about quote unquote equality. Gone would be the concerns about, men have more rights than women. Gone would be the concerns about, whites have more rights than blacks, or, the LGBTQ has way more rights than straight people. Like all of that stuff disappears in the realm of a republic as it was originally crafted by our founding fathers. Now, there is one exception, of course. So back when our founding fathers originally formed our government, our Constitution, there was a social structure where slavery was perfectly fine and normal. So I just want you to know that as I'm talking about a republic, we've already worked on repairing that as we're moving forward. So we are under the auspices now of that all men and women on the land, and actually I really just want to say all people I don't even like to divide by men and women, but all people on the land, we are already created equally. So if knowing that, God did not create everyone to be put into a box, black, white, gay, straight, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, blah, 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 rich, poor, educated, uneducated. That wasn't the point. The point is we're all mankind. And when we say mankind, we're including women. And so just know that. And that in a republic, as Mrs. Powell in Philadelphia asked Benjamin Franklin after the signing of our founding Constitution and our Declaration of Independence, she asked, what form of government have we got, a monarchy or a republic? And he said, a republic, madam, if you can keep it. And the reason I underline you in this is because it really is up to each and every one of us to exercise our individual, and we already learned the term individual in terms of the congressional record, but what I mean is like, I get to protect my rights. It's up to no one else. It's not up to the president. It's not up to the governor. It's not up to the police officers. It's not up to my parents. It's not up to my friends. It's up to me to protect my rights. And in a world of a restored republic, when I exercise my right to my sovereignty, then my rights shall be protected as a free American woman on the land. So what do we do about this dilemma, right? Now that we know that citizens are considered debt slaves, what do we do now that we know, that there's this grand conspiracy going on? What do we do now? We've got a birth certificate. We've got certificates of naturalization for those who are immigrants, like my parents. What do we do? So let's discuss your political status. So I took this screenshot and added this slide because this is right here from the United Nations. The United Nations came forward with a wonderful document called the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. It was actually written in the 60s, but it got a little bit updated over time. And I want to point out right here in part 1, where it says all peoples. Notice how it doesn't say men and women, okay? It's all peoples have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development as people. It doesn't mean groups, it means this people. Okay, not person, because we found out what a person is too. Person, citizen, and individual are all fictions. But as one of we the people, I hold the right to self-determination for myself and my children. And by virtue of my right, I freely determine my political status and I freely pursue my economic, social, and cultural development. So this is not group think. Okay, in the world of being politically correct, this is what we're talking about. This is being politically correct. It's when you, as a free man, free woman, free people, choose you self-determine, okay? I want to share something really interesting though, because even though it was created so long ago, it took 14 years for the United States to ratify this document. And why did it take that long? So the United States government, remember the corporation, we learned about that a little bit ago. The United States Inc. did not want to have to inform their citizens of this document. So it took them 14 years to ratify it because they wanted to tailor it with an exception. Like, okay, we'll ratify it, but we're not going to tell anybody about it. We're not going to bring it into the schools. We're not going to teach people that they have the right to be free. We're just going to quietly pass this and accept it. I don't, I was just a little kid when it was ratified in 1992. I was 21 at that time, which 21-year-olds are adults, but let's face it, when you're 21, you're certainly not paying any attention to politics. Of course, nowadays that might be different, because I feel like from kindergarten, children are being raised as political communists now. So they might be paying a lot more attention. But when I was coming of age, I was not paying attention to politics whatsoever. So I don't know. For those of you who were older at that time, maybe you can tell us whether or not this made headline news, but I kind of don't think it did. So when we correct our political status, I like to say this brings us closer to God, which at the end of the day, if we look at all the ways that people take courses to feel better, people are taking transformational courses and self-help courses, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong. Really, what's wrong is you've been misclassified as an animal. You literally, as a citizen, you are one step closer to, you're like just above the animal kingdom. And actually, in the Environmental Protection Agency, citizens with a lowercase c are considered, like animals, chattel. So when you correct your political status, look at this. You go from here, the bottom of the barrel, all the way up to here, right? You get to be right up here with mankind, where you were intended to be all along. And I want to talk a little bit about jurisdictions. So when you're on the land, when you're on mankind, in mankind, you become part of the land again, the land jurisdiction. So land, air, and water, LAW, are the three jurisdictions. And that stands for law, 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 land, air, water. And in that order, land is the highest authority. I'm saying it like a punchline. Okay, land is the highest authority. Okay, water is the lowest authority. Land, air, water, LAW. Okay, so when you're a citizen, a lowercase citizen, you are of the water jurisdiction. Okay, so land is at the top, water is at the bottom. So when you are a citizen, lowercase citizen, okay, lowercase c, and you're begging your politicians, please don't take away my rights. Please don't take away my rights. They're like, sorry, man, I got to pass bills. My job isn't about your rights. Rights only belong to these people up here, people on the land, people of the law, L, land, okay? So they're not above us, God is. Okay, so when we're out there, with our signs like, no forced vaccines, or no 5G, right? They're going, hey, listen, I got a paycheck, I got to make my Ferrari payment, I got to pass these bills. And so the only way to fight these people, honestly, is to be their boss again. Because right now, when you're a citizen, you're so far beneath them that they get to say things to you like, you're just people, or you don't own your kids. All of those things are true in the world of citizen. Okay, so we help people to get out of being a citizen. So what are the next steps? Like now that you have the basics, it's like, wait a minute, how do I become a people? How do I become part of mankind? So number one, you need to get a certified copy of your birth certificate. So if you're on California, there's this great thing called vitalcheck. I think it's .com. And you can order a certified copy from there. You can get rush delivery if you'd like for, I think, $20 or something. So get your birth certificate, certified copy, and a form of current identification. And then you create a user account in the common law publisher at recorder.americaunincorporated.org. It's about as difficult as creating a social media account. And by the way, let me explain what this is. So remember when we talked a minute ago about the birth certificate? Well, what happens to that birth certificate? Once the application is received by the hospital staff, they turn it in to the county the county registrar's office, where all property in your county is recorded and registered. Okay, so that alone should raise a red flag, because it's the registrar's office, registrar, recorder. So anything that's registered is registered as property, including your children, including yourself, most likely. But there is a recorder in the de jure, we call it recorder. In the de facto, it's registrar recorder. But in the de jure, you can become a free American on the land, up with mankind as one of we the people, if you are recorded in the proper jurisdiction, which is on the land in the people's recorder right here, americaunincorporated.org. So this is a public publishing online portal. So you would go here, create your user account, and you would upload your passport photo. There's a free passport photo app on most smart devices. And then you also need to upload a photo of a red ink right thumbprint. It has to be a very clear image of your right thumbprint. The picture needs to be on a white background, and so does the thumbprint. And you can upload those yourself right into the publisher. And then you create your documents. But really quick, I want to also talk about the common law LRO, which is called it's the Land Recorder's Office or Land Recording Office. And in common law, we have common law notaries. I happen to be one now. I got myself trained, and now I'm affirmed as a common law notary and a recording secretary. So if you want it to be published privately and you don't want anyone to know about it for whatever reason, then you need a recording secretary who's got the credentials to create your common law account for you and to help, to do all the work for you. It's a little bit more challenging to do it that way for the recording secretaries, only because we're so overwhelmed with the number of people that are getting papered up that many of us are hoping that you'll do it yourself right here. But at the same time, we want to serve everybody. So I don't want to dissuade you from using the private, the common law publisher. This one's the public and this one's the private. By the way, the public recorder, this one, is also international. So if you have friends on other countries, do you know this is a movement that is happening all over the world? So it's, Italy is like, wow, Italy is on fire. They're doing it in droves, and so is Australia, and I want to say England too, but don't quote me on England. Anyway, it's like, wow, people are realizing that they can do this. So they're self-publishing in the public recording system. But either way, whether you do public or private, you're still going to need your digital passport photo. You're still going to need a red ink thumbprint, both on a white background. You're going to need to pay the $25 publishing fee. There's also a fee associated with the common law recording secretaries. So it's $40 to do the what we call the 1779 document. It's a one-pager, and then it's $60 if you want to become a man or a woman on the land who helps to build your local county government. So you'll pay the publishing fee, you'll pay the notary fee, you'll complete all the documents, you'll get 2 witnesses, and then you'll meet with a common law public notary to get recorded and published. If you want to do the 928, we ask you to get involved to help build your county assembly. And why is that important? Because without a county assembly formed, you don't have a jury of your peers. And why is that important? Well, you may have heard of people in the past who decided to go the route of being a sovereign, right? And next thing you know, they were in jail, or they got their assets stolen from them, or they were, harassed by the county courts or the police officers or whatever. Like we've all heard nightmare stories about sovereigns, which, by the way, when we lost our battle in 2015 and I went down like on the hunt for the Constitution, it didn't take me long to realize that there was the distinction between a citizen and being a free American. But the nightmare stories stopped me. I kept starting and stopping because I was like, gosh, I've got young kids. I don't want to go to jail. I'll have to go to jail like when they're 30 or something. I'll put that on hold. That fight is going to have to be fought later when they're older. But what I realized after my friend Nancy contacted me in January of this year, and she said, we are assembling, I knew exactly what she meant, because it was like, eureka, yes, that's what's been missing. We needed juries of our peers so that we won't get thrown in jail when we try to escape the farm, the human lowercase c citizen farm, okay? So we're building our assemblies on every county on California, and all 50 states are also assembling. So it's such an exciting time. It's been happening since 2019. So here's what you need. You need a county recorder. A county recorder is someone that chooses to get trained to be a common law notary to help people on your county to get papered up. You need a justice. You need a treasurer. You need a sheriff. You need a coroner. You need a bondsman. You need a marshal at arms. I need to change that. It's a SHAL, I learned last night. And you need 29 jurors, and which by the way is everyone that's papered up on the land can be is a juror automatically. And you need a militia peacekeeping task force, which actually begins sort of the second leg of growing your county. So this is less than 40 people. Less than 40 people on your county to help restore all of the rights for individual men and women on your land. And you don't have to go begging your legislators for anything anymore after that. So what's in it for you? Well, I like to say, what does freedom mean to you? Some of us don't even know, like we haven't been free. We have generational slavery going on. We have no idea what it's like to be free. But first and foremost, you would get to have a real say in the forming of your government. We're actually restoring our original republic, which hasn't, it's like over 160 years ago. So we get to restore our original republic and make sure that the rights of every one of we the people, we get our rights back. No joke. And we don't need anyone's permission to do it. You have the highest authority. Don't forget, as an American on the land, you have the highest authority in the courts. So remember how LAW is the top? It means this de facto government that we're so afraid of has no jurisdiction over you. You're out of the jurisdiction. Okay, so it's almost hard to fathom, because we've been in this uniform commercial code for so long that we're like, wait a minute, what do you mean? How can I be in a different jurisdiction? And so jurisdiction, the term jurisdiction comes from juris, which is like right, correct, proper, and then diction is words. So right words, correct words, okay? So when you are the holder of your proper political status correction and you are a free American national on your land, then you get to be retrained in your words so that you don't say things like driving, because driving, if you remember from being indoctrinated into the system, driving is a privilege, right? But as a free American, one of we the people on the land, you get to travel freely. Traveling is something that isn't a privilege, it's a right. And you get to travel whether it's by automobile or some other form of traveling. So keep that in mind, okay? So the Uniform Commercial Code does not apply when you're in your own jurisdiction, when you're right there next to God, okay? You get to be the American that you thought you always were, only this time it's real. We were trained through school to believe that we were free Americans, and that's one of the great deceptions, you guys. One of the great deceptions is that we've been misclassified this whole time. So you get to claim your reclassification. You also get to reclaim your children. And you get to reclaim their DNA, your own DNA, and you get to hold the perpetrators accountable in the event that they're using your property unlawfully. I want to share with you our very exciting timeline, you guys, because it's not only is it happening, it's like, it's happening. Okay, so this is where we are right now, June and prior. We're papering people up, we're assembling our counties, and we're electing our interim officials. And I say interim because we're having elections in November, right here, okay? July 11th through July 31st, we're gonna be running ads regarding the difference between de jure and de facto for 21 consecutive days in all major and local papers, announcing and doing announcements at public meetings in the de facto system. So we're rolling out messaging. We have an entire marketing team So we're going to be running ads for 21 days in all major county and local papers, announcing and making announcements at all public county council meetings and county meetings. So we're working with a team of marketing Americans on the land already who have decades combined, probably over 100 years of marketing experience, who are helping us with our brief messaging talking points on the difference between de jure and de facto, so that the county coordinators and anyone else on the counties who want to help and support by showing up at these public meetings. We're going to be rolling out the messaging not only in public forums, but also in the papers. And then August 30th until September 6th, 7 full days, we're going to be hosting public meetings ourselves. We're doing town halls. We're going to be having 800 numbers to reach all of the public. So our goal is to make sure that people around you know what's happening too, so that we're not doing this in a vacuum. By September of 2021, we hope to have at least 75 people, lawful, papered up Americans on every county on California. And actually, because this is a countrywide movement, we're hoping the same for all other states as well. Although it doesn't matter what the rest of the states are doing, because we're not a top-down government. We're not, it's not all about whether or not the federation is formed, although we want that and we support that. Our focus is on our own counties, getting 75 people papered up on our own counties. And remember, we only need about 40 to get the first leg, which is our jural assembly, up and running. So keep your eyes focused on getting those first 40, and then we'll work on getting you to 75 by September. And then October 1st, we're going to be announcing our November elections. We're going to be announcing all the seats that are available. We're going to teach people the process to become a candidate, because through this process, people are being called to be of service and to become assembly leaders and to help to form our de jure government. Then on November 2nd, we're having our first de jure elections, local and statewide. And then on December 3rd, we're running ads in all papers for 21 days announcing the results of our elections. And then we're giving our 90 days notice somewhere after December 3rd, giving our de facto government instructions on what life is going to be like for them. And that they will have the opportunity to get on the land as well and to be the public servants that they probably thought they were signing up for in the first place too. I think many people get into politics because they want to make a difference. They've got the egos. They want to, they think that they can fix everything. And then when they get into office, they find out all they're supposed to do is pass bills. And then they suddenly get sucked into this horrible water thing of getting everyone sunk into the water jurisdiction and keeping them, barely afloat, I like to say, swimming in debt, just barely having their nose above the water, right? That the public debt slave system that they've been trapped into. But so many people in politics want to fix things. They do. I talk to them all the time. And the sad reality is I just had a conversation, Saturday, with a woman who's running for office. And she is so certain she's going to be the one to fix everything. Her one vote is going to change everything when she gets to the California Senate. I also spoke with someone that's running for governor who's like, I'm going to be able to fix it. I can veto everything. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, it actually doesn't work like that. Because when you get into office, you pledge an oath. You pledge an oath. The Bible actually prohibits pledging, By the way, the Bible is the first law book. It's not about religion. It is about, the law, LAW, land, air, water. Those jurisdictions were laid out very clearly for us. But I have hope for people who are in politics, that they're going to wake up through this process and they're going to realize they've been serving the wrong master, and they're going to get on the land and they're going to want to serve here. At least the ones who have the ears to hear and the eyes to see. March 4th, 2022. So we escort the de facto from their buildings because those buildings belong to we the people. We've been paying for them for centuries with our tax dollars. And we're going to be collecting keys, and we're going to be operating our fully functional de jure government as of March 7th of 2022. So this is the timeline. Super exciting. Okay, here we go. Additional resources. So TASA.AmericanStateNationals.org. TASA stands for the American State Assembly. That's a great resource. For those of you who might have friends on other states throughout the nation, this is a great place to send them, because from this website, they can find their state coordinators, and their state coordinators can connect them to their county coordinators. So I'm inviting everyone to check out TASA.AmericanStateNationals.org. And then also AnnavonWrites.com. So Annavon Writes is a historian. She's a prolific historian. Okay, she's been teaching people about becoming American for years and years and years. I don't even know how long, but she's got over 3,100 articles, and you can get lost on her website. So AnnavonWrites.com, she has a great search feature though. You can go to AnnavonWrites.com, you can go to the search feature, and you can search like, well, wait, what about my Social Security if I do this? Well, wait, what about my taxes? What about my this? What about my that? So her site is full. There's not a question that you can come up with at this point that she hasn't already addressed. So I welcome you to check it out and start doing your research, because getting papered up is like the first step. You should all be running to the recorder site to get yourself started. But it's not one and done, right? So I highly recommend that you read a great book. You Know Something is Wrong When, by Anna Maria Reisinger. That's, I believe, her birth name. It's the same woman, Annavon Writes. So I love this book because you can read it in a day. It's like the font is huge inside of it, which I loved. It was easy on the eyes. And it's got visuals, because some stuff you read it and it's just not, going through the cognitive dissonance, you know, it's just like it gets stuck in your brain. But then when you see the visual, it's like, oh, cool, I get it. And that book is chock full of those. You can also check out our California Assembly site. Every week we've got something going on. For weekly calls, we've got social events. We've got, in fact, on this coming Sunday up on Altadena, an old movie ranch, we've got our first Sunday of the month event, and this month it's called the Hoedown. And we're calling it the Hoedown because it is on an old movie ranch. So we ask everyone to bring a chair, bring some food to share. It's a potluck. We're going to be having a landing ceremony. I'm in the process of creating certificates for people on the land. And we're also doing a Common Law 101 class, just like this, except for live and in person. And also, for those of you that are interested in swag, we have assemble.com, and you can buy things like hats and t-shirts and mugs and stickers and cool things like that. All right, you're going to start seeing this a lot more lately. This is our flag. And I just wanted to define and show you how it's different than the flag that we've always known about, okay? So notice the stripes on the flag we've always known about is called, you know, this is an Old Glory, and the stripes are laying down, okay? They're horizontal. And this represents the people laying down. This is actually a wartime flag. And that almost brought me to tears. But the Civil War was never declared over. Did you hear what I just said? It's so sad. The Civil War was never declared over. So we've been operating under a wartime flag, which explains why America, the United States military, has been raping and pillaging and stealing resources from other countries ever since the Civil War. I had a full come to Jesus cry a few weeks ago when I realized the devastation and how I've been worshiping this flag. So anyway, keep that in mind. So why is that important? Because not only are you going to start seeing this flag, the people standing on the land, with the blue stars against the white background, but this flag represents peace. This is a civil peacetime flag. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we signed the peace treaty ending the Civil War about 2 weeks ago. So Americans on the land signed the peace treaty because the only people that could create that peace treaty were lawful American people on the land. So we have done that. 35 out of the 50 states have declared the war over. And so you're going to start seeing this flag in many, many places. All right, this is how you get a hold of me. If you have any questions, I also do one-on-one conversations. A lot of people have unique situations and they want to run things by me. So you can reach me at cassemblyrecorder10@protonmail.com. Also, there's my phone number, 310-621-3566. I will tell you 99.999% of the time you're going to get my voicemail because I don't put people on hold. I just can't do it. But feel free to text me. If you need an appointment with me, the best way to get an appointment with me is to select a time on my online calendar at calendly.com/Michelle Ford. It's CALENDLY.com/Michelle Ford, all one word.